Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today I'm going to get on that crankshaft. We're going to try that. I'm going to try it on the spare I've got. But before we get into that, I've got a rant that I want to include you folks in. You know how it is when I just really hate it when I get ripped off over something. And I want to tell you about something that I ran into, and I've got a solution for it. So hopefully if others are looking at the same thing, my experience can help you out. Okay, before we get into the rant, if you would, just take a minute to subscribe and hit the up button and hit the notification bell, and you'll be the first one to get the next video when I put it up. So let's get on to the ramp. Okay, why am I pointing at this? Well, a couple reasons. One is I was able to find a couple of these badges, so I went ahead and popped them on there. But this right here, this screw, is my rant. Do you realize that if you buy that screw from Yamaha, it's $5.76. One screw. Let me show you what I found. Okay, here's the screw part number from Yamaha. And I actually had one of these. And I've bought these before and probably paid that much for them, like a dummy. This is the Yamaha one, and we're looking at a, let's see, these are 4mm, I think. Yeah, 4mm, and it's JIS. So let me just get down to the nitty-gritty here. Okay, we're at 6.77mm for the size of the head, and of course it is Phillips type, and it's let's see here, 4mm, 3.87 thread size. That's the head, and the length is, oh, gee whiz, I can hardly hold on to the little rascal. Okay, I'm getting 7.58mm long, and that's from under the head. All right, I get most of my stuff from Grainger. They have what they refer to as Grainger approved, and you can see here that it gives it a M4 by 8, and that's what we've got, 4 by 8, and it's JIS B1111, and it's pan head screws, zinc coated. And here's their number for it right here, 6GU74, and they also have a part number down here, MPP J040080-025P1, and they say that it's from Taiwan. And I got 25 of them here. Let me grab one of those. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? We just measured the one I got from Grainger. Okay. And I'm going to leave this out here so you can see. It's this is the Yamaha one. Okay, so let's measure the Yamaha. I've got 677 for the head. Same thing. And the thread size 3.87, and the length is 778. So you can see the length is a little bit different. Let me verify this one again. Yeah, it is. Yeah, just a little bit shorter, not much. So that's the only difference there. It's the same thread. I can't recall what the thread is. Let me grab my thread gauge. Okay, here it is. It's the pitch is 0.7. I know you can't see this. I can barely see it. But they're the same. And I know that because I've already used 4 of them. So you can see here that the one from, this is the Granger one. It's a little shinier. This is the Yamaha one. So really the only difference is about this 0.20 millimeters, 0.20 of a millimeter longer, or actually shorter, the Granger one is. And the best price, or best thing about it, this Yamaha one was $5.86, I believe it was, each. And the ones from Granger are $7.08 for 25 in a package. You know, I think that I have bought these before for these tank badges, and they're the same for all of them, and probably paid that much for them just so you get the right one. And if you think this little bit of extra shiny is going to hurt you, then you know, you probably want to buy these. But I don't see that much difference, and for the price difference, I'm going to spend $7.08 for 25 instead of $5.86 for one. It's just ridiculous when that, you know, they're just ripping you off. You know, obviously there is a little difference in the color, but that's really the only thing. They're both of them are JIS. And I just went through the measurements on them. All of them are 0.7. Is it? Yeah. 0.7 pitch. Same up here. The only difference is 0.20 millimeters longer on the Yamaha. But here's the big difference. For the price of just a little bit more than the price of one from Yamaha, I can get 25 of them. So food for thought, guys. I just want to share stuff like that with you. And maybe you won't feel as ripped off either. I just keep the one Yamaha one in here with the part number on it, so I know what these are for, and I'll mark it as tank badges. So that's it for my rant. And we're going to get on to this. And I did make a modification here. I had one viewer, Ray was his name, I believe, and he suggested that I put some dimples in here to keep these bolts from walking all over the place, and I did that, and I think that's going to be very helpful. When you get to screwing these in, it's just gonna want to walk, and I didn't get them perfect, but I think it'll certainly help. And if you wanted to put just a little bit of high pressure grease in there, I think that would be great too, and I'll probably do it. Okay, now let's get on to our crankshaft. And I've pulled out my crankshaft data here, and the HS1 is right here. Let me see if I can get you a little closer. Okay, HS1, we're going by, these are the dimensions for the twin cylinder. It gives you your deflection tolerance up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to be 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. So that's what we're looking for. And then we're going to be looking at the flywheel, which is the F right here. The distance from a single flywheel outside to outside, just like we do on the rest of them. And here, right here. And then A is the combined one. Okay, when it's a twin. This is as a single, this is as a twin. So in this case, HS1, we're looking at 126 millimeter plus 0 minus 0.20. 0.20 is about 8 thousandths. These are all millimeters. Okay, we've got 0.02 and 0.06. 0.02 is about 1 thousandths, and 0.06 millimeter is about 2.5 thousandths. And I'm telling you that because my dial indicator is in thousandths. So that's how we've got to convert it to get the correct tolerance. So anyhow, this is just something I actually have a hard copy of this, and this is a copy of it that I've made so I can keep the other one safe. And here it is all in one piece on one sheet of paper. I've done this just to make it a little bit bigger and taped it together. So I've already measured the crank, but I'm going to take you over there and show it to you so you can see it yourself. Well, it's May 19th, and we just had a little hailstorm come through, and we're getting a little rain, but it's pretty cool. It's I don't know, looks like 38 degrees. But we've been in the 70s. All right, guys, got it set up here between centers, and not too bad. I'm zeroed over here on the left, magneto side, and I've got about 1 thousandths and 1/4. And over here on the clutch side, I've got 1 thousandths and 1/2. So not bad. Hopefully we can get it that good or better. They actually take some measurements here. I usually don't do that because it's this is really what I'm worried about out here. These things are usually kind of marred up, and they just, your dial indicator bounces around quite a bit. Let me just show you. This is where they tell you that you can be 6 thousandths, which is about 2.5. Let me get that there. Okay. Okay, we're at about 4 right there. But you can see it's kind of jerky. I just don't put a lot of stock in this. If it's the only way that I can do it, that's different. But I just generally do all my checking out at the out on the shaft. And on this one, of course, it's a little closer in, so we're at 2. Okay. So I'm not even going to go there right now. This is where I generally do my checking. And I got 1/1000 and a quarter and 1/1000 and a half on this side. So we're right about where we need to be. Let's get it up on the bench and do a couple other preliminaries. All right. Okay, I've got zeroed out, and we're going to go all the way across. And I don't know whether you can see everything there or not. Okay, I've got 125.90. And if I go to the other pin, I'm at 125.92. So that's what I'm jotting down. We'll check the single ones when we get it apart. But if you remember right, on HS1, 126 plus 0 minus 0.20. That's about 8 thousandths. So we're good to go. And the reason this is important is because that's why they tell you plus 0. You don't want to aim wider than that. Is that that's what it takes to get it to fit back in the case. If it's a little bit less, it's not a big deal. But you can't get it any bigger and still get it to fit in there. Now this one does come with a shim. This one here, I don't remember, I don't think I even checked. It's a 0.64 millimeter, and that goes on the clutch side. So all this garbage here went over here. And that's generally how they are, because when you tighten this nut up on your engine, it's going to pull it this way. It's going to pull it right up against the bearing. So this side generally doesn't have them, but I have seen them on some. I think some of the AT, CT ones, I think they have them, if I remember right. But I generally always check the dimension, and when I'm tearing them apart, I check the width of the cases too, using a depth gauge and a parallel. You've probably seen me do that on some of them before. But anyhow, that's what we're looking at there. And I don't have this measurement here with me. I'm sure it's in the manual, the regular shop manual. But I check before, And both of these check just about identical. So we go between the, see, you've got the cutout here for the oil to get in. I check between the hill and the washer. And this one's about the same. And they're at 0.18 thousandths, 0.46 millimeter. So that's, at least we know what it was before we took it apart. Okay, the axial play, or the shake, depends on, Suzuki calls it shake, Yamaha calls it axial play. That's this here at the tip. You're shaking it, and it should be no more than 2 millimeters. So it's 2 millimeters or less. And after, like, if you put it together brand new, it should be between 0.8 millimeter and 1 millimeter. So that's pretty close. That's 32 to 39 thousandths. And then they tell you to check your connecting rod large end side play with your feeler gauge right here. And the limit is 0.1 millimeter to 0.3 millimeter. So I think those are all the dimensions we need to look at. So we can put this thing together and see if we can get it apart. How about that? Okay, we've got her put together and everything is free and clear, I believe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and put it in the vise and give these a final torquing up, and then we're going to apply some high pressure grease here and then go ahead and see what we can do with it. Okay, I've got this setting in here. And one thing I've got to watch is right here to make sure this doesn't, it should not move, but I've got to watch that anyway. It should just push everything up, I believe, since I'm holding on to this piece. So we'll take some extreme pressure lube, and I'll just apply that. Well, hopefully get it down there in the hole where I kind of need it. And same on this side. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure everything is still free. And give it a tighten. Just like that. And we're still good. So we're going to start applying some pressure here on these bolts. We'll go a half. And another half. Still good and clear on the bottom. haven't felt anything really move yet. Ah, there we got something moved. Yep. I've just got a 6-inch ratchet here, so it's probably not as bad as it looks. Looks like the top here is moving the most at this point. The top is coming up. Getting a little easier. Okay, I'm going to take a minute here and kind of show you what's happening. Okay, you can see there that it's pulling up from the top. So it's pulling this crank half up here out. This is still good here. It's not touching anything. And everything is free. So I don't know what to expect when we get this other half off, but it's coming. So we'll keep going. I think I'm glad I got the 3.5-inch bolts. I was afraid of that. It looked like 3 would have been enough. Hopefully you can still see there, so you're not looking at my hand every time. You're still not going to pull it apart by hand, but it's gotten much easier. And we're getting a lot easier now. There it is. Okay, there's your spline. So I'm assuming we're probably going to press the other side out of this piece here. Oh, we've got a shim there too. Okay, need to take note of that. Okay, take a listen to the bearings. Okay, it looks like we've got to press the remaining side off. But you can see the splines here, and according to what I'm reading, is there's no way you can overpress this. It's just going to stop and that's it. And I believe that it was also press fit here into the bearing here. Probably just a bearing fit, so it's not like a terrible press fit, but it is some. And Ray, the idea about the dimples, I think was invaluable, because I think with the pressure I was putting on it, it would have skated all around. So that was a super good idea. Thank you very much. Okay, it may have been easier if the other side had popped out. Then you could have just put a piece of aluminum here and shoved this out through the bearing, but that's not what happened. So what we've got to do is, I've got it over at the press, and we're just going to stick a rod in the middle of it, all the way down to the crank half, and give that a shove and see what it does. Okay, on this, doing it this way, we're going to press against this back here. It's what's going to hold it. We're going to push in the middle, and this is not going to cause a problem, except you've got to make sure it's loose. You don't want the clamp effect on it, but you're just pressing against this this piece here, and all you should be doing is pushing against the tolerance or the interference fit of the bearing on the other side. So let me show you here. So you can see under here, we're all clear. We're keeping that clear. I'll reach under here and grab the crankshaft, and it should come out a whole crankshaft. The only thing left up here will be this aluminum piece, and that's got the two bearings and the lay breath seal in it. So let's go ahead and get it up here. And let me see what's best here for. Hopefully that's not in your eye. And I'm just gonna, I've got a piece of drill rod here. And you want to stay off of the rod. You can see the rod in there, but I can feel it there, but it's beside it. So hopefully this doesn't push out very hard. It shouldn't. It should just be the interference fit of the bearing. everything's still loose. And I'm just gonna, let me see what I can do as far as something so you can see. Let me fiddle with this a minute. Okay, you should be able to see the top and the bottom. You can see right here the shaft, the rod, it's clear. And I'm just going to go ahead and start pushing. Hopefully it'll just be very easy to come out. I've got a hold of it. Oh yeah, see, it's moving right now. One thing I noticed is this is a little bit, there we go. I see I was even able to move that. So there's not a lot of pressure here. Coming right out. There it is. All right. So let me get you here where I can kind of show you some stuff. Okay. I think if you look down in there, I think you can see. You can see it's kind of rusty down there. You can see part of the rod. And you just want to make sure that the rod is not in there when you're trying to do this. Okay. So it was clear, and we just push on the bottom, the rusty part down there at the bottom. And where that is this piece right over here. See, watch the push bar. See there? See, it's coming through. So that's what we're pushing on, not this piece here. So that came right out. This is just the interference fit of the bearing. Okay, let's take a look at this. See, this was, oh, it had a shim on it too. Okay, so we'll take note of that. And when we were pushing on it, we were just pushing on this side, not over here. So this this raised area that drops into the groove is not a player when we're doing this, so you don't have to worry about it. The only thing you got to worry about is make sure these are loose. You know, you don't want it so loose that this piece falls through there, but there's no problem with it tearing up that surface or the other crankshaft. Now, all right, you can see in there the labyrinth seal. That's what I was wondering. See, if they're aluminum like that, you can reuse them, unless they're just really worn out for some reason. It's just a series of grooves to slow the oil movement between the bearings and between cylinder and cylinder. So this one is probably reusable, and that's a good thing because from what I see, they're not very easy to find. Unless somebody knows something I don't. Maybe there's some people repopping them. I think there is for the bigger bikes, but I don't know about these. Let's go over to the bench and finish taking a look at it. Okay guys, looking at this here, and this is your labyrinth seal, and as you come back around here, this is a snap ring. So you're not going to be able to push these bearings and seals all the way through. So we're going to have to pull those out. Hopefully they won't be too hard to get out. It's just aluminum. But we do have to get them out and change them. So what my idea is, I'm going to use a blind bearing puller. got this one here. Yeah, okay, 25 millimeter went in there. So we'll get that tightened up. And get our slide hammer on it. Okay, wish me luck. Just right out. Yeah, and you can see the snap ring right there. And the laborious seal is on the other side. Now you've got to watch how this comes out. See, I left the block with one pin in it, and here's the other pin. So this goes like that. And this wide spot is forward, I think. Yeah, I believe it is. So you need to make sure that you've got that, oops, the right way. So we could probably go ahead and push this out, but I think I'll go ahead and pull the other bearing just like it. It just pops right out. And that laborious seal is probably pressed in a little bit. Let me see if I can move it. I can move it, but I really don't see any point in taking it out. I'll just clean this up. I used an aluminum piece of tubing here, and it'll move, but you know, I'm not real sure that I want to drag it through the bearing sealing or the bearing press area. It's just going to wear that out. And from what I cannot find one. It's been a long time since anybody had one on eBay or anything, so I think we're just kind of stuck with it. Let's see, which part? Is that right? Yeah, it's plenty tight still, so I don't see any point in changing it out. So we'll just use the, let's see if I've got this right. Let's see, that goes forward. So it does fit over this piece. Matter of fact, right here is where it was running. So yeah, it's tight. So that's all we need to know. So it's still in good shape. So it's a press fit over that, and it just spins in this, and it keeps, you know, it's not going to keep all the oil out, but it's going to keep most of it. So I think we'll just leave it. More than likely, we're going to have to reuse it anyway. All right, guys, this is not a lot of pieces there, but they're certainly more than a single cylinder. You know, otherwise this one we're going to take care of by itself, and same on the other one. And we're just when we put it back together, we make sure that we have the two rods 90 degrees apart. I think that's it. So that's where they'll press back in. And from what I understand, you can't press it too far. It just gets pressed in until it stops. But you do have to check your total width. So we've got a 15,000 shim on both sides that go up against the crankshaft, or the two halves. And then we've got our two bearings, and we've got our labreth seal and our snap ring, and there's an O-ring on the outside of this thing to seal it. It, from what I understand, it's got a groove in it. So that's, unless we can find one, there's no use to disturbing any of that. You know, that I'll look for one, but I just don't think they're going to be out there. I've seen a couple on eBay, not active auctions, but others, and they went for, you know, ridiculous, like $100 or something like that. So I don't think I'm going to be going there. It's not a, from what I understand, it's not an issue of a seal like a single cylinder where you have a seal that leaks on the crankshaft. These, you know, even if you're doing a leak down test on these, you do both cylinders at the same time. You don't do one at a time. You know, it's so you're filling that whole area as at the same time. But that's let's see, according to this, we've got the forward arrow here, so the little part of the block goes forward. That would be like that. Okay. Well, actually, it is like that. Okay. So not, you know, kind of an interesting thing. Our tool worked perfectly. And, you know, if you have this side still stuck in, all you need to do is put a little piece of aluminum here and press on the shaft to push it out. But in the case that we had, where we had this piece in there, you just stick a shaft in there and press on it. But you're never going to be able to press the seal and both bearings out at the same time because there's a snap ring in there. So you're going to have to use your blind bearing puller. it was a good thing I looked at this because that was my original plan. And I saw the snap ring and I said, nope, that's not going to work. So then I looked to see if I had a blind bearing puller, and I did. So that worked out just great. Actually, it's not hard to pull at all, these two bearings here. And these are, actually they don't sound too bad, but you can kind of see the rust on them. So they're going to get replaced along with everything else too. But I don't know that we're going to replace this one. We'll just see when we get the other one tore apart, whether or not we're going to need this one. But I think everybody was kind of antsy. They were wanting to see how the thing came apart. So I just went ahead and took this one apart, but I wanted to measure everything before I did that. All right, guys, there you have it. Kind of an interesting thing to do. Been many years. It's just been a long time. What can I say? But it's not too bad a job. You just got to pay attention. Look at your parts breakdown and your manual. You kind of got to go back and forth, but it's pretty straightforward actually. And it's really, it looks like the same way when we're putting these pieces together here. It's just going to be two single cylinder ones being pressed out and pressed back together. And you're going to check your run out on these before you put it together too. Make sure these are all in good shape. And then once you get it together, you do it again. But looks good to me. Our tool worked out great. So if anybody's looking to make something like that, there you go. And it's not that big a deal to make that either. You know, you're just going to work with the size of crankshaft that you have. If you've got a 250 or a 305 or whatever, it's going to be a little bigger. And on this one, I believe this one does do the 90 twin, the 100 twin, and the AS1C 125 twin. And then you start getting bigger flywheel weights for the bigger ones as you go up. So if you got one of those three, you should be able to use this one here. And I think I went over the dimensions and everything in that tool build video. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride. And a ride it's been. See you next video.